Oh my goodness, Josh, that was a heckload of stuff to digest. Welcome back to Tardis Talks. I'm here, Darcy Rofe, with my co-host, Mr. Josh Rimmer.
Good day as always. How are you today, Darcy?
I'm pretty good. Well, what did we think about Village of the Angels?
Well, I can finally say for the first time, it felt like a Doctor Who episode. You could watch it without having to watch the rest of the Flux, and you'd still know basically everything. That it's still enjoyable without it. You know, seeing the angels, it was a horror episode, but there was also some mystery about why the heck they're in space. And there was the angel woman with the funky division angels or something. There's so much in this episode, but it actually felt good.
It felt a lot better organised than the last episode. The timelines were more streamlined. There was all the different stuff going on. You know, we didn't have too much or too little. We just had just the right amount. And if Chibnall keeps doing that, I'm going to be very happy. Yeah. But we still have a lot of unanswered questions. But that's the good mystery behind all of this. That's the mystery element. But what I did like about this particular episode, the Weeping Angels aren't one of my top favourite villains, but they are definitely up there for me. But I just loved a lot of the stuff that came out of this episode. I loved the whole Peggy character. I loved how it sort of there was the old Peggy and then the new Peggy. That was great. I felt that, like I said, a lot of the stuff was managed a lot better this time round.
Yeah. And then we have the giga chat of the whole episode. Is it Professor Jericho?
Jericho, yeah. That's it.
What a guy.
I liked Claire's inclusion in this episode.
Yeah. Finally explains why she's there.
We still, she's basically a carrier of the division.
Yeah. Well, it's not the division. An angel division guy, are the angels using...
It's hard to sort of interpret because you get the idea in the episode, but then you come to the podcast and it's sort of weird.
Are the angels working for the division? Are the angels the division?
No, so I think what's going on is this angel has all the knowledge of the division. This particular angel, it may have been similar to the Doctor's, what happened to the Doctor. That person who knew everything about the division got turned into a weeping angel, aged over time, found a body to try and carry it and hide away from other weeping angels. That's sort of the gist I got. And then, of course, the division comes back, Claire's back, Azure is back. I think I liked the way that she sort of coaxed the population of a desperate world. That's literally a real world translation of politics.
Yeah.
I loved that.
That was so cool. The thing that I'm really excited to learn is what the frick is the division? Because we learned a tiny bit more than we have in past episodes. It isn't just the Doctor and maybe a Lupari. No, it is different species. It's every species all across time, and they're time travelers, apparently, because they said the angel was every species, every time. So I'm guessing they have agents at every point in time. And I have a theory. You know that fairy godmother from the last episode who was the curator? I think she's the leader of division. And she's...
Wasn't Gat the leader of division, though? I think the person in the flashback of the Timeless Children... when in The Fugitive of the Jadoon, where the Ruth Doctor goes aboard the ship with the Jadoon and the crazy looking lady. In the Timeless Children, we learned that Gat is sort of the leader of the division. I do believe that's what the Timeless Children sort of set up. I hadn't learned anything about the division before Chris Chibnall came along. I didn't even know it existed. There's probably been a subtle few hints, in past episodes, but I really liked this episode. I loved it. It's got more of a horror factor, which
it really made the angel scary.
The horror factor doesn't always work well, but when you're talking about statues that can only move when unobserved, that's a great sort of thing to intertwine with a horror element. The tone of this was incredible.
They had great atmosphere because you heard those like great like sound effects after they killed someone, or not killed, but like sent them back in time. It was like, wow, 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 and they disappear. It's crazy, bro.
This episode is definitely the answer to the overuse of the 13th Doctor's sonic screwdriver.
Exactly.
Because every single time she went somewhere, zappity zap zap, and I've got nothing against that. One of the best things for me about Doctor Who is a sonic screwdriver. I even made my own custom one, which I'll maybe showcase on this channel sometime soon. But, I mean, yeah, this episode was great. I don't know what the Professor was doing, really.
The Professor, he was just trying to help. He was just a regular dude, looking after.
And I'd probably usually be the first one to complain about unnecessary characters such as Belle, but in this case, I like sort of having a few characters that don't really do anything. He sort of developed the plot a little bit. Everything was centered around being in his house. There was a passageway.
Exactly.
And I liked that. I liked a lot of stuff in this episode. It's funny because, like, even though I only watched it yesterday, I can't always remember everything that happened.
Yeah. But my only major gripe with this episode, it's fixing the issue I've had with a lot of the episodes in the past, where it's you've got one story you're trying to tell, but then you're also telling three others intertwine with each other, and then it's getting very confusing very quickly. But with this one, it was just Weeping Angels in the time extracted zone, and Belle and Vinda goes to a much, much smaller scale.
Really liked the way they handled Belle and Vinda. The post-credit sort of connection they had. I love that. I think that is a way better way. You don't have to have it after the credits, because that's kind of a little disrespectful, but I think that just the time constraint, maybe a gap between what's going on in the mainstream story and then the Belle and Vinda situation, that the way it was handled was great in this episode.
This whole time watching Belle, I'm still asking the same question. Why? Why have this subplot about Vinda trying to find Belle, and the only major thing it has told us thus far is, well, what the different villains are doing. Besides that, it doesn't really teach us anything. Like, it's teaching us, like, the Doctor is on her own escapade dealing with Weeping Angels. She's just kind of going from spot to spot as the TARDIS explodes. But, I think
we barely saw the inside of the TARDIS, so we don't really know what's going on. Yeah. We only saw it when the Angel had control of the TARDIS.
Yeah, it wasn't looking too good.
Because it's not Claire. We worked out it wasn't Claire that was controlling the TARDIS.
Yeah.
I don't know why the Angel even went for the controls. Maybe it was something to do with the Angel that was carrying the division. Maybe it was the Angel, it even was the Angel who was carrying the division.
I think it's one of two possibilities to me. Either one is the one with the division and she was trying to, save herself with the only person she could imagine could save her from the Weeping Angels, and that's the Doctor, or it was one of the Weeping Angels who were trying to extract him, and they thought, well, we could make a deal, which is what they did at the end of the episode. With the big reveal, they turned the Doctor into a Weeping Angel.
We have to talk about this for a bit.
Yeah.
This is a very incredible new sort of plot point. When I saw the Doctor just turn into, I heard the line, "You've been recalled to division," and I was like, yeah, this is happening. The Doctor turns into a Weeping Angel. The CGI work is incredible. Mad props to the VFX artists on Doctor Who. Good. As soon as I saw it, I was like, what the hell? Are you kidding? But I think it could be a really interesting sort of plot point for the rest of the series. Obviously, the Doctor is going to escape because she's a Doctor. She's like James Bond. Nothing kills her.
Well, that's a spoiler. I'm not going to say anything about that. But with the Doctor, never before, at least in recent memory, has the Doctor really become the villain, the monster.
She's not essentially become the monster, as she's sort of, I'd say, being
changed by the
controlled
monster.
Or changed.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think What are your theories as to what could happen next episode with the Doctor just being frozen?
Well, I think it's not going to last for long because, Doctor always... She's the main character. They got to get her to talk. But I have two theories. Either one, they're going to unfreeze her, take her to the division leader, and they're going to put together a group, and they're going to actually explain why they made the flux and what the heck happened to division that led to her almost everyone forgetting it or dying. Or the Doctor goes into the mindset of the Weeping Angels and actually sees the first Weeping Angel that isn't quantum locked.
I think what could happen is it's going to be sort of what the Angels did earlier on in the episode, which was like talk through like the TV to the Professor. I think she might do something like that, but try and persuade her companions to maybe find ways to deal with Peggy and then try and help her or Vinder or someone else.
Yeah.
Maybe the Doctor will be out of action for a bit of the next episode.
The next episode.
She would send Yaz and Dan off into the galaxy to try and stop the flux or stop whatever's happening, because in the spoiler, Carvanista said that the Earth's shield is now breachable, so perhaps she'll send Yaz and Dan off to deal with that.
I have a theory about that, actually.
Yeah.
I think because at the end of the episode, they have no TARDIS. They have no way to get out of that little section. And I think that
they're still stuck in 1901.
Yeah, I think the Weeping Angels, they're going to stop the time extraction, and then they're just going to be stuck in 1901, and they're going to have to grow up in a world with the flux and all the stuff messing up. And that's how the Ood get there, because maybe they'd splice timelines and the Ood have just appeared there. They don't seem to be the villains of next episode. They just seem to be the helpers.
I mean, because Ood have never really been the biggest threat in Doctor Who.
Honestly, the only time I've ever seen them is in that 10th Doctor episode, but that was because they were being enslaved. And their brain was literally being stabbed.
And I gotta also speak on the sort of new kind of look of the Ood. Looks a little bit weird. It looks a little bit sort of statuey.
I didn't even notice a difference. They look less scrunched.
They
look less wrinkly.
Yeah. Some of these villains are just so they're just spontaneously popping up, and you're like,
Sontarans, Dalek, and Cyberman, you can always explain with, well, they're warmongering races. They'll just go to wherever the fight is. But then Weeping Angels, they don't really do much besides sometimes attacking small settlements. And then Ood, they just pop up wherever humans are. They are literally the servant race. So,
I don't know. Do you reckon the Daleks will return?
Well,
I don't really think so for this.
I think for the Flux, I think what they're going to set up, the Ood aren't going to be the villains. I think if anyone, they're going to be focusing for the last few episodes, it's going to be Swarm. The actual... I wouldn't say... He isn't... It's weird. He isn't the main villain, but he's the one villain who's constant throughout all of this.
Yeah.
And he seems to... He seems to know what's going on.
He's very consistent. And I think... I mean, this might happen. If they do continue him into Series 14, that would be cool. But I think given what Chris Chibnall's already given to us in the past... he might just be scrapped for Series 14. You'll wrap up his origin, you'll wrap up his inclusion in the Flux, because we only have 2 more episodes to go. That's a short time to answer questions and wrap people's origins up. But, I'm very excited for the next episode.
Yeah, I want to see it. If for nothing, I really like the Ood. It's one of my favourite 10th Doctor episodes. It's the one where they save the Ood from the corporation. Because it was...
I wonder if it's going to be like the 10th Doctor and some villains are going to turn on each other like they did with the Daleks and the Cybermen in the 10th Doctor's era.
Like I was talking about in a previous episode, if we could get just a Bell subplot where we get to watch a Sontaran Dalek Cybermen war...
I'd love that.
I am Commander Scar. You... are in my way. We do not answer to anyone but the Daleks. Cybermen shall convert you all. Delete. Sontar! And they all charge into each other, guns blazing, and then Bell's just kind of watching from the distance, No, you know what would be the coolest 6th episode thing?
What?
2 subplots where you've got Bell trying to save... Vinder and Bell are at opposite sides of a battlefield in the middle of Cybermen Dalek, and they're trying to get to each other. And then the second plot is the Doctor having to deal with Swarm and the Division with Dan and Yaz. and then like I don't know, someone
They sort of meet up in the middle,
exactly.
sort of like what the because like that would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be very cool.
I honestly, because I'm gonna be real with you, Darcy, I have no idea if anyone's gonna live this. Like, it's the end of the season. Yaz has been with the Doctor.
Do you think
since the
Yaz
very-
and Dan's probably going to stay?
Dan, I think Dan's gonna live because
Do you think Yaz will die? I think there's like a 45% chance.
it's like Rose Tyler. I think Rose Tyler had been with the 9th and the 10th Doctor for so long. It got to the point where it's like, well, what's going to happen to her? Because she can't stay forever. I think either because the Doctor Who has a very strange tradition of not killing, but like doing something that is almost inescapable to their female companions.
Yeah.
Like turn them into Cybermen, killing them with crows and stuff. And I think something similar will happen to Yaz. Dan, I could see tag teaming with the next Doctor. He's like, "Oi, Doc, what happened to you?" "Oh, I think I've changed, Dan." "Oh,
Yeah.
What happened?" Because Dan is...
If Yaz dies, Dan, I hope will be there for the Doctor's regeneration. I sort of like the fact. I like the fact that sometimes the Doctor is sort of alone when they regenerate because it's a private thing for them. But I do like the fact that if there's companions like staying in the TARDIS, I like the fact that they're kind of there when it happens, so they understand.
I want this because I can't remember. Especially for the newer regenerations, it's always been like the first few episodes he's by himself. And he doesn't really have anyone with him, and then he just except for the 12th Doctor. That was the last time he was with Clara for that. But for this, I want Dan to be there because Dan, throughout this Flux series, he's been the one thing who's actually questioned what the heck's going on instead of the Doctor and it's just being like, oh well, that's Tuesday. What can I say?
And what do we reckon? Final ratings. What do we give?
Honestly, this is probably. Out of all of them, this has been the most consistent. I love the Sontaran episode because I'm a Sontaran fanboy, but like overall, I'd say this has probably been the best episode we've had so far.
So 10, you reckon?
Yeah, I'd say it's a 10.
I'd say a 10 as well.
Yeah.
I can't find too much wrong with this episode, really. It was structured well, it was told well, written well, it was organised really neatly.
Yeah, I only have one thing that really bothered me. So, Weeping Angels, right? One of the new abilities that they really showcased in this new episode is they can appear in the minds of people and take them over. What does that mean? Because they said it was a premonition, but does that mean if I thought about a weeping angel, they could live in my brain?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, hopefully that's explained, because we don't know.
Otherwise, that means literally the Doctor, all the companions, literally anyone who's ever seen a weeping angel and thought that statue looked kind of weird, all susceptible.
Thank you guys for joining us, and I'll see you when I see you.
Alonzi.
Geronimo!